Welcome back to First Take. The Dallas Cowboys continue to bolster their defense this offseason after they agreed to a one-year, $5.5 million deal with veteran pass rusher Von Miller over the weekend. The 37-year-old enters his 15th season with 138.5 career sacks, which is the most among active players. Miller, of course, brings the pedigree of being a Super Bowl MVP and two-time champ. So yesterday, Jerry Jones said he's willing to make a substantial move if the opportunity is there to improve the roster. He said, I think it's fair to say that if we could improve it, which is almost a cliche, we would, because again, I'm even more excited today than I was when we started camp that our team is going to be one that if we can have some things go right for us, avoid some injury, we could really be something that we all want to be. And he said, if the answer is yes, if we saw something that would help us any place, we would do it. So defense has been reworked in a big way in Dallas this offseason. New defensive coordinator. They used that first-round pick on Caleb Downs. Von Miller. Pass rush has gotten some help, too. Is there another move in mind that you think would put them in the next contention of contenders? So maybe Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, I mean, the name that I keep coming back to is Maxx Crosby. I think that's the obvious one, just because, you know, the Raiders tried to trade him. I think it is in the best interest of the Raiders, of Crosby, and of the incoming team for him to go somewhere else. I've thought about the Lions as a result of, or in relation to Crosby. I've also thought about potentially the Buffalo Bills. But I'm wondering if the Cowboys are starting to show signs of reminding me of a team in the mid-90s, 94, 95, the San Francisco 49ers. What was that defense built on? The two guys up front, Bryant Young and Dana Stubblefield. I'm not saying that these two are as good in terms of Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark. But what I am saying is, did you notice what the Niners did back in the day? Ricky Jackson was on that team. Does anybody remember that? Charles Mann was on that team. Richard Dent was on that team. Tim Harris was on that team. All these really great historical, in some cases, Hall of Fame players at their end of their careers just saying, what role you need me to play? I got you. I'll follow along. Von Miller. Is Maxx Crosby in the they were in the mix for Clowney, right? They had him last year. I'm wondering if the Cowboys we have what it takes. Now let's sprinkle in some of these all-time great vets to kind of put us over the top. It almost feels like that baseball team in some ways that you're like, they have a lights-out closer, but if you can add another guy, just put him in the pen and figure it out. That's the vibe that the Cowboys are giving me right now. Like, they feel like they're an inch away from really making a push here.
Yeah. The Crosby of it all is intriguing to me. I think when Jerry talks about potentially making a move, unless you're swinging for the fences like that and giving up first-round draft picks, at least one of them, to get a guy like Maxx Crosby. As far as free agents go, like the Von Miller signing was a nice pickup. I don't really see other guys out there that you're just going to pick up off the street right now that's going to completely change the trajectory of this defense. A guy like Von Miller is a nice piece if the rest of the pieces all do what they're supposed to, because now you have a closer in the game. But you look at them, maybe you'll say, hey, they could use some depth at inside linebacker, another cornerback. Kenny Moore is a guy that's out there. Bobby Okereke. Do those guys move the needle enough for you to say, you know what, yeah, go out and sign one of those guys because they're going to come in and start over one of our other guys right away? I think for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys right now, you've done a good job of reassembling your defense from a coaching staff to personnel-wise. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see if we have enough pass rush. Maybe we get to a quarter way through the season, and now we realize we do need to take that swing for the fences and go get a Maxx Crosby. But for right now, I don't see a move that I look at and say, no, right now they have to go and get player X to now go and compete.
Well, what's important is that you don't disqualify yourself by the time we get to the trade deadline in early November. And I think that the Von Miller move helps to that end, right? You got a lot of talent when it comes to that Cowboys linebacker core, not a lot of experience. Everybody in there too deep is 28 and under. So bringing in Von Miller, somebody that's still productive in a limited role, can provide a little bit of boost in situational pass rush. But the boost, the biggest boost that he's going to bring to the team is going to happen in the locker room. It's going to happen on the sidelines in terms of being able to coach guys up. Now, as far as Jerry making a swing, I will say this. As a player that was on the New York Giants in 2011 when we won the Super Bowl, Jerry Reese, the then general manager, had a saying, you can never have enough pass rushers. And so if you get to the trade deadline and there is a Maxx Crosby deal to be had, then you make that move. Maybe the Las Vegas Raiders have fell out of it. They've got eyes toward the future. They're willing to sell off Maxx Crosby. Hell, they were willing to do it this past offseason, but the medical didn't check out for the Ravens. So maybe there is that big fish that that emerges once we get to that point in the season. But I will say this, based on what the Dallas Cowboys have put in place from a coaching personnel standpoint, from a coaching standpoint with Christian Parker as their DC, there's a lot to like in terms of them being able to take some strides and to make sure that their defensive performance isn't what we saw last year, where they allowed the most points in the NFL and they allowed the highest opponent QBR. That won't be the case this season.
Yeah, here's what I am in 100% conviction of. That the Dallas Cowboys believe that they are Super Bowl contenders. It's not that the Dallas Cowboys are saying they're Super Bowl contenders. Now, they've alluded to it, obviously, Brian Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott. But that they actually believe it, right? That's the difference between this year and years past, in my mind. Now, actions over words, the Brian Windhorst Hoop Collective reference, is what are the actions? Von Miller is a put-over-the-top move. That's what they think Von Miller is. Didn't Washington make the same kind of move? Didn't Washington think we were close? This is pre-Jaden Daniels, if I'm not mistaken, getting hurt. They brought in Von Miller. That's a put-over-the-top move. Buffalo did the same thing. Now, they weren't putting over the top. The Rams did it, and they did get to the Super Bowl and win it all. Von Miller, at this point in his career, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, is a put-over-the-top move. You don't make the put-over-the-top move unless you think you can be put over the top. So they believe it this year. What Cece, you've said about them, it's not the lack of words indicates the belief, correct?
Well, the lack of words from ownership, right? Jerry Jones is doing something different this year.
That's the difference.
In opposed to years past, right? In years past, because the product on the field was subpar, Jerry Jones had to be the entertainment for the Dallas Cowboys. But by virtue of his silence, I believe that Jerry Jones is telling us that he believes the product on the field can stand on its own merits, right? That's when you're allowing your football people to handle football business. That's when you allow your head coach and your quarterback to set the agenda for the team and not be the one that's front and center in regards to that being the case. So I think Jerry Jones has told us that he believes in this team at a different level than years past, by his willingness to step into the background and let the key actors for the football team be in the forefront. And so that's the biggest difference in my belief in the Dallas Cowboys this season as in comparison to years past.
It's clear the sense of urgency is there by the moves that they've made and, frankly, how quiet he's been throughout this offseason. No big contract drama outside of franchise tagging George Pickens, but even that has seemed to work itself out. And he did drop a little hint. On July 28th, he told reporters at training camp that he had a conversation with an owner recently about a potential trade. Don't know what that was about, but we'll see. Maybe it's something that could help improve this team even more and make their way to a Super Bowl. So let's stick in the